Before we jump into this episode, we need to call out a trigger warning. This episode is about child sexual abuse and covers subjects that might be seriously distressing for some listeners. Please use your discretion. If you are in need of any help or support, please make sure to contact one of your country's sexual abuse support organisations. They are there for you.
Secrets are the currency of a perpetrator. So what you as a parent have to do is to stop using the word secret. Say, for example, you're teaching your kid road safety. Do you show them graphic pictures of an accident in road safety? No, you don't. It's the same with body safety education. You do not go into the actual graphic side of it. It's an investment teaching body safety and consent to young children for their future.
Today, I'm speaking with Jayneen Sanders, educator, publisher, advocate, prolific children's author with over 40 titles in the body safety education, sex ed, protection space, co-founder of Educate to Empower Publishing, advocate for child safety, body safety education, respectful relationships, gender equality, both in homes and schools. Recent book, Body Safety Education, Adult's Guide to Protecting Kids from Sexual Abuse, is a practical and powerful tool for parents, educators and carers. I have a copy myself. I found it confronting, obviously, but again, empowering and really, really important. So we'll dive into all that today. Jayneen, thank you very much for coming to see us at Sex and Space.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Love to talk about how you got to where you got to. A career path started off as a primary school teacher. Am I right?
That's right. Yeah. So I started off as a primary school teacher in Queensland. I then moved to Melbourne to actually study photography.
Okay.
And then I saw a job ad for a ex-teacher to be an editor in publishing. So I thought, what's that? But I'll give it a shot. I got into that as an editor for an educational publisher. Then from there, I went into becoming a publisher at Macmillan in the educational space. Then I met my partner and we went off to Japan for 3.5 years to teach English, save some money, and had our first child, Jessica Kyoko Sanders, in Japan. Came back and decided that I really loved living outside of Melbourne. So we're on 27 acres. So I had to invent a business for myself. So so I started to think up ideas for publishers, and then I would sell them to the publisher and put them through production and take a royalty. So it sort of started in that space, and then I started writing children's readers.
Oh.
Yeah, that's when I started to write children's readers under the name of J. Dale. Then, as with any businesses, sometimes there's money coming in and sometimes there isn't. So I went back to teaching for a while as a relief teacher and then also as a prep teacher with working in partnership with another teacher 3 days a week. And that was really great because it made me realize, the needs of children, the needs of parents, and just brought me back into that space so I could think about more ideas that were needed. And then along the way, I was on my children, I had 3 daughters by then, school council, the parent who's on school council. And I asked, because when I had been an editor in the early days, I had edited a book by Dr. Frida Briggs called Keeping Children Safe. And I thought, wow, this book is really powerful. I'm going to teach my kids this when I had kids, taught them protective behaviour. So I said to the school council, hey, we should be doing more for children. We should be teaching more about, I call it body safety education, how to empower them and protect them from abuse before it happens. And nobody kind of wanted to know about it. So I was kind of put to the end of the agenda. Meanwhile, I had spoken to my neighbour who was in her 70s, and she told me that both her son and her daughter had been sexually abused by her husband from as young as they can remember. And she said, whatever we do, we need to teach children and empower children before they're in that perpetrator's web. Because once they're in that perpetrator's web, it is very difficult and very healing takes time, as our survivors of sexual abuse would know. So anyway, when they didn't listen to me very much on school counsel, I came home to this very office and I said to my husband, no one's listening. I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
And then maybe someone will listen. So I wrote the first book called Some Secrets Should Never Be Kept. I wrote it as a fairy tale because children, we can send messages through kind of fairy tales to children. Couldn't get a publisher, couldn't get an illustrator for a while.
Wow.
So we took out a loan and we decided to publish that book ourselves because it was so important, and got a wonderful illustrator called Craig Smith. Put that book through production, and the teacher in me came out and realized I need teaching notes to go with that book. And everything kind of developed from that book, that we then I decided that, hey, we should be doing more on consent. So I did a book called No Means No for our little ones, teaching them about consent. So everything kind of morphed from there. And then I found myself in this space of body safety and consent and gender equality, which is all part of it. And yeah, I just started feeling a need that I felt was there by writing children's books and providing lesson plans for educators. Because, Tim, like we were talking about previously, it's very hard for parents to know where to start.
Absolutely.
And because children are such visual learners, a book is a really good place to start these conversations, and they are conversation starters, which is so important. So that is the journey over about a long time.
So that first book then, what, if you don't mind me asking, what was the date around then? Like, when were people really, still kind of reluctant to publish that stuff?
Yeah, so that was about 2011, so 14
Really?
years ago,
Okay.
and very hesitant. In fact, when we did publish that book, I took it to a kindergarten, and the woman said, just get out of here with that book, which is just nonsense because it's gone on to sell hundreds of thousands, been translated into different languages. And in fact, in New South Wales, social workers use it. They have a special kind of edition to get disclosures from children who are at risk. There's nothing graphic in that book. As I said, it's as a fairy tale. And we find children who have been sexually abused really relate to that little boy, but it's also that little bit distant because it happened to that little boy in a faraway land. So it's a very powerful book, and my husband and I, who run Educate to Empower, are very proud of that book.
That's really interesting. And so I guess, did you see, or did you intentionally kind of target the schools as a way into a more sort of broader conversation about educating kids from that standpoint? Or
I think it's bigger than that. Like when I wrote Some Secrets, it was really for parents as well to broach this subject in a really age-appropriate way.
Yeah.
But then I thought this book can be also very useful in schools, hence the lesson plans to go with it.
Yeah.
And then, I do want to provide resources for parents to start those really important conversations. However, I also think for those children who aren't going to get those conversations for whatever life circumstances have happened for them, they do need to get that through the schools. And in Victoria, we have the Respectful Relationships curriculum, which my materials fit in really well with. We have a teacher's resource kit on teaching body safety as well for preschool and primary school. So yes, it's definitely for schools, but it's a partnership with parents as well. I think parents can do a lot of work at home because, you are their safe person. You are their warrior parent. So, as they go through life, as you begin these conversations when they're 2, by the time they are 10, when they might see something online that's very concerning for them, they'll come to you. They'll have those conversations because they know that you've talked about all this stuff before and nothing is off the table. So it's an investment, teaching body safety and consent to young children for their futures, as empowering them as young adults as well. And when parents often wonder about, oh, are you going to talk about sexual abuse? Well, you're actually not. You're actually talking about that they have a body, it belongs to them. No one can come inside their body boundary unless they give their consent. They can say no to hugs and kisses if they want to. So you're telling them about their body. You're empowering about their body. You're actually not saying anything graphic. I mean, why would you? They're children. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think that maybe there's an expectation. Obviously, the book's done really, really well, which is sort of proves, that there is a real appetite to learn and to engage with a tricky subject. But do you find that there is a sort of reluctance to engage at all with this as a subject?
I think in the past, Tim, there was. I think when we started, there was a real reluctance. But I think this generation of parents are different. I think they want to empower their children. And this kind of information's been around for a while now. And I think a younger parent is definitely more interested in how they can protect their children. I mean, we've talked about the statistics. They vary, but recently there was research done, and I think it's as much as 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before they're 18. So, I mean, the perpetrators are around, and they're using different ways to groom children. So, what is the downside in empowering your child to come to you if they feel uncomfortable, if they come to you and they get what we call their early warning signs? Like, it's really important that they speak up before they're being interfered with, or even, some tricky people around them, some things that don't feel quite right. Like, it's great they'll come to you. So I think it is definitely improved. And I had a police officer say to me a year or so ago that they're getting so many more disclosures now. Like, children are disclosing when they feel of sexual abuse, and also when they feel uncomfortable from the first step, like from the first touch that they know is wrong, that is not okay. They're actually coming to one of their trusted adults. So I think it's definitely been a big improvement. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's positive, because it's a subject that can make you feel a bit glum. That it's an inevitability almost, that these things are out there and these risks are out there. It's a bit it's a bit bleak, but I get that, what we're doing here, and I think, is, well, I mean, we're talking about it right now, but I think, opening up space for acknowledging it, for talking about it, for not sweeping it under the rug, and then hand in hand with the education that then empowers, that then has that trickle down effect to being preventative at those early times.
Absolutely. And I think this generation coming through, these kids really need a voice. They need to be listened to. I mean, they shouldn't be just, oh, be quiet, you're a child. Like, they need to have a voice, because it's a tough world. And they need to stand up for themselves, and they need to, have autonomy around their body, around even, I'm writing a book currently called Respect Me, Respect My Boundaries, which is really about, like, respect my body boundary. Sure, that's really important, but also respect, if I'm speaking, don't speak over me, because that's not okay. And, you take the toy from me, don't take the toy from me. That's not okay. And we need them to, it's okay to take up space. It's okay to stand up for yourself. And particularly our girls, I think they need to, that's where the gender equality comes in as well. They need to be able to say, this is not okay, and from a young age.
Yeah, no, 100%. A subject which I mean, I don't know if it needs a trigger warning or whatever, but it's uncomfortable. Is the subject of grooming, because when we we're sort of looking into researching this, it's incredible the amount of abuse victims that know the perpetrator, right? Like, it's someone close to them, are really trusted person in their life, that kind of thing.
I think 95%, I think, of kids
Yeah,
know
I
the
mean
perpetrator.
that's really, really sad. The in terms of, and I mean, I guess as well, it's always changing when you add in the online aspect. That's something we're always playing catch up with. But grooming, what's a good working definition for that? And what are some things that people could look out for, I guess?
Okay, so grooming is when somebody works very hard in establishing a relationship with the child and with the family in order to sexually abuse the child. So they will work very hard at this to be loved or liked by the family, to be trusted by the family, by everyone around them, in order to get access to a child. They need access to a child. So we are seeing more and more grooming online. So, for example, you might think, look, it's so great. My kid is playing a game with his uncle. I trust him. It's not a problem. And then the uncle is actually organizing to meet the child at somewhere at a party or at the family to abuse them offline. So, and we're also seeing a lot more child on child abuse. So an older teenager may be abusing a child a bit, younger than them, or even a similar age. We're seeing a lot more sexual abuse in schools where older, particularly boys, may be assaulting a child. So why are we doing that, seeing that? So there's two parts. Like, we'll talk about the grooming in a minute, but I do want to say that pornography is really crazy out there. And we know that, kids as young as 10, particularly boys, that's the first time they're going to see pornography. Now, if they haven't had any kind of conversations or sex education, they're going to, whoa, and it's actually going to be really quite traumatic for them. So that kind of trauma they will then may outplay on a younger child if they don't understand, if they don't come to you and say, hey, I saw this, but they are really confused by it, and they may then abuse a child, outplay what they've seen. So pornography is pretty much our enemy for our children. But the grooming also from a person who wants to sexually abuse a child offline, you need to be very careful of that person who is always there, who, have your parent radar up, your little red flag up. Now, this person will work very hard, as I said, to make sure that you trust them with the children. You might be really busy and they go, well, look, no, I can take them camping. It's no problem. You're so busy. Or I can pick them up from school. Just be really conscious of that kind of person and what they're doing. And, with the actual child, they need to groom them. They might just do a little touch on the arm. And if the child is like, get away, you're in my body boundary, they're going to go, whoa, okay, this child is educated. They know about their body boundary. I'm not going to go near that child's off limits. But if they rub that child and it snuggles into them a little bit closer and loves that affection, then they go, okay, great, this kid is needing affection. And often it'll be like children who, maybe in a broken home, and they kind of say, listen, I really understand how it is for you. I'm here for you. As they get older, more teenagers being abused by older people, it's often love-based. I really love you. You're having a hard time at home. I understand. I'm there for you. I love you. Whereas with a younger child, it's more about, just being really affectionate and telling them that, when they touch, them in a private place, that this is normal. This is what you do. They may even show children pornography, young children pornography, and say, look, this is how you show you really care for me. This is how you show you love me. And the more that we talk about this, as I'm talking about this, the less power we're giving to perpetrators, because we go, hey, we see you. We're talking about this. We know what you're up to. So if your child has had body safety, Tim, and somebody comes inside their body boundary, they're going to go like, no, I don't want a hug.
Mhm.
Okay, so then they might try to touch their penis or something, and they go, hey, you can't touch my penis, or they go straight to their parent and say, blah, blah, touched my penis.
Yeah.
So straight away, the perpetrator goes, whoa, this kid calls private names by the correct names. Like, okay, this kid is educated. So there are a lot of hints that they're educated,
Mhm.
and they will back off their child. And there's even one thing that you can do. It's like I have a free My Body Safety Rules poster. Even that poster, which you can download and you can put on your refrigerator, it says to anybody coming into your house, these children are educated to tell.
Mhm.
Like, back off. They're off limits. They're educated to tell. We do body safety. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but
Oh,
really
no.
I mean, and being open about it, like, oh, hi, everybody, come in. Yeah, that on the fridge. Yep, that's body safety. We teach that. Being really proud
Mm.
that you do that with your children. And that also sends a clear message that you're onto them,
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
know what they're up to and you know what they're doing. But yeah, if you have some doubts about a person, you're probably right, actually. If you're going like, what? Hey,
Mhm.
this is a bit odd. Yeah, keep your kids away from them. And if your child is saying, yeah, I don't want to go with Uncle John, like I give a sick tummy, I don't want to go. Listen, that
Yeah.
kid is telling you something right there and then. They don't feel comfortable with that person. Listen
Yeah.
to them. Don't ignore those kind of warning signs.
And you're talking
Yeah.
about, these sort of tactics are used on kids from a really young age as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. From like, well, babies can be
Mm.
sexually abused. Now,
Yeah.
you gotta be really, really conscious of who you leave your child with.
Mm. Yeah.
Not just any random down the street. You've got to be really conscious who you start leaving your child with. And, we can teach them to say stop and no, and that's okay. It's great. It's empowerment. It's
Mm.
great for them when they're, particularly with other children. But if they are being touched inappropriately, they may, like anyone, freeze
Mhm.
and not be able to say stop because it's a big person. And,
Yeah.
and so that's the default, is to go straight to a safe adult and tell them what happened. Like, straight away is the
Yeah.
default to go. You would say, like, if anyone touches your private parts, if you feel uncomfortable at all, and if you feel really like it's tough to say stop, you have a right to say stop. But if you feel like it's really, really tough, go straight to me. I'm
Yeah.
here and I will listen and I will believe you and I will help you.
Mm.
So, that is what you need to be. You need to be that warrior parent. And the other thing is, if you're teaching your kid body safety and consent, then often children will disclose to a friend. So your child might have the education, but their friend is now disclosing to your child about what happened to them. So
Right.
now your child will know to
Yeah.
tell you. So it kind of has this kind of really great ripple effect.
Yeah.
There isn't,
Definitely.
yeah.
I think that's it. The ripple effects I've heard are really good. There's so much relationship benefit as well for you and your children, just in having open conversations and being the trusted parent.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it might not necessarily be something as awful as abuse or something like that, but anything else that they might have an issue with,
Absolutely.
you're their person, right? And they
Yep.
come to you. So that's kind of the dream scenario right there. A lot of the books that you've published, they outline this and the key steps from
Yep.
that young age, like how to sort of foster those relationships as well. One of my favorite things is that seems to sort of come through in a lot of this, your stuff and others people's as well, that they won't be in trouble if they come to you.
Yep. And it's
No
never
matter
too late to tell. It's never too
exactly.
late to tell, and they won't get in trouble. I think that the key thing about the books that I write, particularly one called My Body, What I Say Goes, children are quite black and white. Like, they need rules. Like,
Mhm.
you don't need to be like shades of grey. So with My Body Safety, My Body, What I Say Goes, there are these set things. So you talk about feelings, feeling safe, feeling unsafe. Then you talk about like having a safety network. These are the people you trust, who you would tell them anything to and they would believe you. Then you have this thing about early warning signs when you feel yucky and something's not right. Then you talk about private parts and calling them the correct names. Then you talk about like your body boundary and you have the right to say no to hugs and kisses. Then you talk about secrets and surprises, because the secrets are the currency of a perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that child doesn't keep the secret, they're in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that child tells the secret, so they're going to do everything they can to make sure that child keeps the secret. So what you as a parent particularly have to do is to stop using the word secret.
Mm-hmm.
So, because secrets can be kept for a very, very long time, as we know, and sometimes they're really uncomfortable and you don't want to keep that secret. So they will use it like, don't tell your mom, this is grooming, but I've given you some sweets. It's our little secret. Now, that groomer is testing to see if that child can keep the secret, to keep that they didn't get the sweets, and then they will move on. So take secrets out of your vocab. It's going to have to be happy surprises.
Yeah.
Because surprises will always be told, like a birthday party. That's a surprise and it's going to always be told. Whereas secrets are not, that is the currency as the perpetrator, as I said. Now, as your child gets older, sometimes they might want to tell you something and they don't want everybody to know. And we call them private conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So they might want to talk to you about the fact that, they feel funny about puberty, or someone at school's being, really nasty to them. So they do want to talk to you and they don't want it to be a secret but they do want it to be a private conversation.
Yeah.
So that is different. But secrets, it's if you hear any survivors talking, they will always say, I was told to keep it a secret and I kept the secret for 50 years.
Yeah.
So, and the
so
threats that come with that too, like, if you don't keep the secret, this will happen. And that terrifies children. Like, I won't go into what kind of threats.
I can only imagine, how awful they are.
Yes, they're horrible. And it
Yeah.
is just and they're children and they believe it and they think that horrible threat's going to happen. So it silences them. But as soon as they hear the person say, this is our secret and you need to keep it quiet, they will go, I don't keep secrets. My mother and father told me not to keep secrets.
Yeah.
So I don't keep secrets.
Yeah.
I only keep happy surprises, because secrets should be told.
Yeah. No, and the private, the conversations as well. I mean, that I sort of alluded to porn a bit before, but I know that a lot of kids are exposed to it pretty young. I think average age is under 12 here, and it's not because they're looking for porn. It's because they might have either been exposed to it accidentally, or they've legitimately Googled something, when they're old enough and have questions. And porn can often spark more questions. And the perfect thing would, instead of being like, oh, my genitals are meant to look like that, this is how people have sex, this must be normal, is actually a good thing would be to come back to your parents and go, hey, whoops, I saw this. Let's talk about it. I guess that would be.
Look, it's a whole different ballgame to when I was bringing up my kids. Like, it's a whole different ballgame. And pornography is just, look, it's really, it's really degrading women. It's what children should not say. And they're looking at things they don't understand, and it's actually really quite traumatic. So they need to come to you with that kind of information, and knowing that they won't get into trouble, that they've chanced upon it, not going into trouble, and that, they can always talk to you about these things. But look, it comes back to Tim, like, keep your kids off screens as long as you can. Seriously, keep them off screens, because when they're on screens, when they're really quite young as well, it's changing their brain patterns. Like, when I was a teacher in my early 20s, kids would focus, like little 5-year-olds could focus for half an hour. Like, we'd be lucky for them to focus now for 10 minutes. So, it's just, and it's not sparking curiosity of the world around them. So,
It's a game changer. Yeah, we went out on a boat to a remote island for a couple of days camping. No screens, no reception, no nothing. And
Beautiful.
they were making things out of sticks and twigs. I don't know. I was just like, oh yeah, this is good. They
Yeah.
unwound
So,
very very quickly from
yeah, yeah.
screen based boredom. I'm bored. You hear it all the time.
Boring.
Um,
Being bored's not a bad thing
no,
sometimes.
absolutely. Now in terms of, I know we talked about 95% of people know their abuser,
Mm.
which is really sad. Other sorts of risky environments. And I did hear
Mhm.
on an interview that a single parent family is potentially going to be slightly more at risk
Yeah, 20
of.
times more.
And
So,
yeah.
a child in a single parent home is
Mhm.
20 times more likely to be sexually abused.
Wow.
Now, the reason for that is that perpetrators need to be where children are. So,
Mhm.
they're going to target particularly women with children on dating sites. They have, so as a single parent, you have to be so vigilant about
Mm.
who you invite into your home. Yeah, it's really scary. So,
Yeah. And is that
what
also
can I
because
say?
of? I mean, just I was brought up by a single mum till I was about 12, but it's there was I suppose she leaned on a broader family network a bit more for support.
Mm,
Other friends and things like that. When stuff came up for babysitting, there isn't that second parent there to, you know, pick
yeah,
up when you got to go and do something important or whatever. So I suppose, yeah, you can see how those
yeah.
statistics would start to sort of creep up. What about other demographics? And I did wonder as well about the sort of, what do you call it, like the perpetuation of abuse from people who have been abused. Is that something that happens? Does it?
Look, that is, look, they can. I
Mm,
mean, if they've been abused as a child, they may abuse, but they also they may not. So
yeah,
it's not a sure thing. I do want to talk about one demographic, though. I'd like to talk about the disabled community
please.
because those, yeah, they're, I think it's 2.2 times more likely to be sexually abused. So
Wow.
let's think about that. Like, here we have kids and adults who are disabled, and they will have a lot of carers coming into their life and a lot of
Mm,
health professionals coming into their life. And they are very, very vulnerable to abuse. So in Australia, though, unfortunately, anybody who has a child working with children check and a police check
mhm.
can work with your disabled child. So that means that they haven't been caught. And so they don't have to do any training in consent or body safety. They can just work with your child after having those two checks.
Mm,
So this is very distressing for me. I mean, I actually am not a survivor of sexual abuse, but I am, as you know, an advocate for
mm,
children and to keep safe. And when I heard those statistics, I was really, really concerned. So I have written a book called My Body Safety Rules, which is specifically for children with a disability. Now, it's written in the voice of the child, but it is a book that if you do have a disabled child, when your carer comes to work with your kids, you can say, hey, read this book with my child or by yourself, and this is their rules. This is
mm.
what you need to do when you're working with my child. You need to ask them if you can, and if they're verbal, lift them from the chair. You need to, before you touch them, you need to ask if it's okay and check in with them a lot. So there are these 7 rules that we go through that are really specific. So I think that is great because yeah, they're incredibly vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Golly, it can be bleak when you think about this, but
Tim,
really
it
good that
can be
you're.
bleak.
Yeah,
It can be bleak, but
yeah.
this is where people like me and advocates and you're talking about this. This is where we get the strength.
Mm,
We're advocates for these children. We're standing up and we're saying, hey, no longer are you going to come in and just think you can get away with this. Like, we're
Yeah.
onto you, people, and we're gonna do the work ourselves. We're going to educate ourselves about this. We're going to find out about this. We're not going to fear this topic, because their fear of the topic increases their strength. Our fear of this topic increases their strength. So let's not have fear, and let's do this talk with our kids. Let's have these tricky topics, talk with these kids. And if they ever, they can't be with us 24/7. And if they are away at, whatever, a sport club or wherever they go, that they know to speak up. So, and as I said, perpetrators will go where children are. So it will be, the sports club, or it will be schools. But if they know to speak up to you, this is incredibly powerful, and it takes away the power of the perpetrator. So it doesn't need to be bleak. It needs to be that we fight for our kids.
Yeah,
really.
no, absolutely. I think that's in terms then of like it's a multi-pronged attack. I don't want to call it an attack, but
Yes.
the defense of our children, it is an attack. You know what I mean?
All
But
together.
yeah, exactly. So it is schools can definitely do better for those kids that are maybe left behind a little bit, but parental involvement absolutely key. I really like the thing about the sort of peers as well, like kids looking out for other kids. Like that's great. Like there really is there's no downside to doing this. You just got to get over that first little icky moment that you're going to be talking about. Count to 3, take a few deep breaths, and get stuck in.
But as I keep saying, though, say, for example, you're teaching your kid road safety, or you're teaching them water safety. Do you show them graphic pictures of an accident in road safety? Do you show them, someone drowning in the pool? No, you don't. It's the same with body safety education. You do not go into the actual graphic side of it. What you're telling them is, you're coming kind of from the other side, that you have this body, no one can touch it, you have private parts, no one can touch it. So you're not actually saying, "Ooh, this is what could happen to you." You're actually not going there, because why would you? They're children.
Yeah,
You're just telling them about their own body autonomy. And you can actually start from the moment a child is born. You can start, even though they're not verbal, you can actually say, "Hey, I'm putting your little jacket on, and I have to put your diaper on now, and I'm putting your boots on because it's really cold outside and you'll need some boots." You're telling them what you're doing around their body. And then as they become verbal, you can say, "Oh, you need to put your jacket on. Do you want the red jacket or the green jacket?" You start to give them choice. But what people often say to me is like, "Okay, but what about if they're crossing the road and they go, 'No, my body, I want to cross the road by myself'?" What you need to say to them then is, "I am your safe person, and right now it is my job to keep you safe. That means you will have to hold my hand when we cross the road, because that is a safety issue and I need to be your safe person." So that's one thing. And another question I always get is grandparents. What about grandparents who say, "Hey, I can hug my child. Like, I can just hug them, or I can kiss them." And you need to say, "Well, no, my child has body autonomy, and then they have a right to kiss you or hug you, and you need to ask." Now, there's a reason for that. One of them is, if you just come in and hug a child as an adult, it's sending a message to that child that you're the big person and you can do whatever you like with their body. So what is that setting them up for? That's setting them up for a perpetrator who says, "Nah, I'm the big person. I can do whatever I want with your body." So by saying to the grandparent, you need to ask for a hug or a kiss. You're also, if I were a grandparent, and one day I may well be, and I need to ask, "May I hug you? May I kiss you?" And if they say, "No, I don't feel like a hug right now, but I'll give you a high five," I'll go, "Fine, that's fine, no problem." But if they say, "Sure, Granny, I'd love to give you a hug," that I know is they really want to give me a hug. I'm not stealing it from them. I'm not just taking something from them. I'm actually, they heartfelt want to give me that love and that hug. And that's a really lovely thing, rather than just stealing the hug.
Yeah. Oh my God. Again, yeah. No downsides on that one. How lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm probably raving on here, but
No, it's great. Yeah. Yeah, it takes me back to my own grandparents. I used to run at them and leap into a hug, which is
well,
very
then
good.
sometimes too, it's like a bit like default, like
Yeah.
as a parent, it's like, yeah, you can have hugs right now. I mean, you know that. But look, I have one daughter who is not a hugger,
Yeah.
seriously, and she's 26 now, and it was tough because I am a hugger.
Mhm.
So I had to really respect that. And even now, like when she left yesterday after visiting, I say, "Can I have a hug?" And she'll go, like little tiny one. But she's
Yeah.
just not that kind of person, and I have to respect that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So out of all of the since 2011, I think it was, out of all of the body of work that you've put out there and the effort that's kind of gone into it, in terms of positive feedback, positive outcomes, I bet you've got a vast treasure trove of thanks and reviews and all that kind of stuff. But like, what do you see as the sort of that impact and like its knock-on effects, like from what you do? Do you see that all the time?
Interestingly enough, because I work here in my office, kind of just with my partner and another Thomas who works with us, I don't hear a lot of people. I don't get a lot of feedback in a way.
Mhm.
Like I do get endorsements, and I do get, sometimes I'll see on Instagram, "Oh, Jayneen Sanders' books are great," or on Amazon there'll be some really nice reviews. So yeah, I'm happy for people to tell me that the books have been really helpful. But I think that I know from the people who buy our books and then resell them that they have been very, very impactful.
Yeah.
And I every book I write is always got an educational objective to it, because the teacher in me can't help it. So when I write a book, there is an outcome that I want the child and the parent to come away with.
Mhm.
There is knowledge that I want them to know when that book has been finished. So, like for the example, with the book, Body Safety Red Flags, or My Body Safety Rules for the children with a disability, I would never write that book like in rhyme or anything, because I want to be black and white with how I want the message to get across.
Mhm.
And so it's never, like I said, grey, but it is always in child appropriate language. So I do hope that it's these books are making a difference, and I believe they are.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I think in terms of that, the disability one, I think it's great that you saw
Mm.
a demographic in need,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and tried to do what you can to sort of resolve that. I mean, that's really cool. So,
I mean, there are other books too, Tim, that
yeah,
I write. Like I do a lot in diversity and inclusion. So I have a
yeah,
book on Included, which is about kids with disability and, including them in your play. And as I said, I do gender equality, and I also done a book, Hope, for kids in domestic violence situations.
yeah,
So anywhere where I think, how can I help this group? How can I help the children in these groups?
Mm.
And the best way I know how is through writing a book.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's what I do. Yeah.
I mean, interestingly, as well as a publishing, I suppose a sort of distribution conundrum is the getting the books to the right people as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's tough.
that
I
must be.
I am the marketing department as well. So
Yeah,
mostly, like, people will hear, like, if I'm on your podcast or Instagram, really, that is the way I market. And there's lots and lots of free resources on our website too. So even like printing them out and saying, "Oh, I got them from Educate to Empower Publishing," then I'm hoping people will come to the website and look at the different books. And
yeah,
also, I want to have books there that if you came there and you thought, "Oh my God, my child is really anxious," that I'd have an answer for you. So I have one about, how big are your worries, little bear? So that's about anxiety.
yeah,
Or my child is like, I really want to do some work on resilience or feelings, that they'll be able to find something in our library of books that will suit the need of their child.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do. And we have a pack called 12 little books called Little Big Chats. And they're for 2 to 6 year olds. Just really simple language, really beautiful, bright pictures, simple language to start the conversations early. And they're very popular with kindergartens and daycare centres because they're just quite simple and just enough for them to focus and unpack a little bit of information. So that they've been really, it's kind of like word of mouth too.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great though that they make it to kindies and
Yes,
all that
yes.
as well, because instantly there you just get a broader demographic, right? Than broader cross section.
For sure, for
interesting.
sure.
So the Educate to Empower, people should just go check that out, and drop in where appropriate, right? Because I've seen it's from 0 to me, at 44. So, yeah, perfect. Free resources, packs of books. Yeah, that's great. Good. I'm happy.
It's pretty easy to navigate. Sorry, Tim. It's pretty easy to navigate, and it'll go, these are the books, or there's bundles, and then there's free resources, and there's lesson plans, and we also have a giving back page, which is really lovely. So giving back, like for example, My Body What I Say Goes, I gave the rights to that book to World Vision India.
Oh, yeah.
And they then adapted it a little bit to suit, and they did the print run, and they distributed it to a million copies.
Wow.
And they in service 900 teachers to give that book away and give lessons to these kids in India. So that giving back page is, when people buy our resources, they can know that we do also love to give back to not-for-profits who can't afford books. I mean, we're just giving, at the moment, Thomas is just sorting out 30 books called Included to people who go and read, who have disability, who read with children in school and then leave a book with them. So,
lovely. Yeah,
that's
nice.
good.
Oh, thank goodness we ended on a positive note.
Oh, Tim, it is empowerment.
It is empowerment.
Positive. It's positive.
Yeah.
You can do this.
No, I know.
Your kids will thank you for it. Your kids will.
Yeah. No, I think it's fine. I think I'm doing okay. I worry about other people. Sometimes, hopefully my kids will be all right. But really, really great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
And all your wonderful expertise. Really, really great. So people hopefully will be flocking to Educate to Empower.
I hope so. I just really hope that people have no fear of this topic, because if they do have a fear of this topic, you're actually putting your child at risk. So again, be that warrior parent, and also sprout about teaching body safety and consent, because again, it's that ripple effect. The more you say, oh yeah, I teach my kids body safety, it's no problem, the more other people will do it. And and definitely put up those posters in your house so that anyone coming in your house knows your kids are educated to tell. So.
Right. Okay. I will clear a spot on the fridge. It's
alrighty.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks ever so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Hi. We wanted to ask you if you could please subscribe to Sex and Space. Every click of that button helps us to keep doing the work that we're doing and bring you more great podcast episodes like this one. So don't ghost us. Subscribe and make this relationship official. We want to see you again.